We are all looking for ways to save some money, and there is no better way to do that than in the kitchen. So I am going to bring you 5 delicious, very budget-friendly meals that are great for the family. Right now, the garden is giving us tons of peppers. We have lots to use up, so I decided to make some fajitas. Now, if you are not growing your own peppers, right now peppers are in season, so head out to your local farmer's market. I know at mine, if I buy peppers in bulk, then I can get them for 33 cents a pepper or less. So make sure that you're checking out your local farmer's market and buying them in bulk. It will save you a lot of money. This is a really quick, really delicious, and very family-friendly meal. My kids love this one. So it is a sheet pan meal. I'm just getting out my baking sheet. I am tossing 1/2 of an onion on one sheet along with about 2 chopped peppers. And then I am chunking up a couple of chicken breasts and tossing them on there as well. As for seasonings, I put on a tablespoon of olive oil along with a tablespoon of cumin and a tablespoon of chili powder. And then I'm just going to go right in there and massage that seasoning all in so it is covering all of my onions and peppers and chicken. I bake this at 450 for 25 minutes until that chicken is nice and cooked. And then you can go ahead and put this on your wraps with whatever toppings you like. It really turns out so delicious. I find the best way to save money in the kitchen is to make sure that I am using up ingredients that I have sitting around that may need to be used up. And right now I have some canned baby clams that really need to be used up. So I'm going to go ahead and make a clam linguine. I am chopping up 1 yellow onion and I'm going to go ahead and get that into my frying pan with a little bit of olive oil, and I am going to fry that until the onions are translucent. Now I am chopping up 6 cloves of garlic, and I honestly think that 6 cloves in a recipe should be the minimum, because just 2 or 3 is crazy. I think 6 is a great number. So I am chopping up 6 cloves of garlic, and I am going to toss that in there with my onions. Now, a regular recipe for linguine calls for white wine. I do not have wine in the house and it can be expensive to buy, so I am using some home canned broth. I am putting in 1 cup of this broth, and this is after the onions and the garlic have been cooking for a little bit. After that, I'm tossing in 2 cans of these baby clams. Now, if you do not have baby clams at your own home, you do not need to be using clams. You can make a meat-free linguine and just leave any meat product out, or you can sub it in for another cheaper meat like chicken or maybe tuna and use that instead. Once that's in there, I add a tablespoon of lemon juice, as well as 1/3 cup of chopped parsley. Now, I am personally growing parsley in my backyard, so I don't have to buy any of that, but it is a fairly cheap herb to buy, and it makes this pasta nice and green, which is nice. Now, again, I don't have linguine noodles, so I am just using spaghetti noodles. It is totally okay to sub out in a recipe and use what you have, instead of having to follow that recipe to a T. If you don't have an ingredient, don't feel like you have to run out and get it. You can use what is in your house. So after I've cooked this pasta, I put it in with the sauce and just meld it together, and this was an amazing meal. My kids really enjoyed it, which I did not expect. So we were super happy with that meal, and it is quite cheap. Now again, like I said, we are getting tons of peppers right now, and a lot of them are really nice and big. So I decided this night that I was going to do up some stuffed peppers. So if you've gone to the farmer's market and you have gotten yourself a big bulk order of peppers, this is another great way to use them. And if you are growing your own peppers and are having an abundance of them, this is also a wonderful way to use them up. I am chopping 1 onion and I get it in my frying pan with a little olive oil and just cook them until the onions are translucent. I then add a can of black beans, a can of corn, and a large can of diced tomatoes. And I am just going to stir these in so that they can meld together. After that, I am adding about a tablespoon of cumin, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a couple teaspoons of chili powder. And I'm just going to stir this in. This gives it a bit of a taco or a Mexican feel to it, and we quite like that in our house. So this is the way I'm doing our stuffed peppers tonight. So I'm just going to cut my peppers in half, and then I'm going to de-seed them and get them on a baking sheet. At this time when I'm doing this, I love to keep the seeds and save the seeds so that I can dry them out and have all these free seeds for next year. That's another great way to be saving money if you happen to be growing them yourself. And if you don't have a lawn, don't be scared. I grow all of my peppers in pots, so I don't even have peppers in the ground anywhere. They do much better in pots for me, so they are a very pot-friendly plant if you're ever wanting to grow them. Now, to my dish, I am adding 2 cups of fully cooked rice. So I cook the rice beforehand just to make sure that it ends up fully cooked, because in an instance like this, it may not cook all the way through. So I cook it separately and then add it. I am now going to add this to our peppers. I'm just going to fill these halves right up to the top. And then I'm going to add a decent helping of shredded cheese to each one of these peppers. During this time, I have also preheated my oven to 450 degrees. So after I've got the cheese on top, I'm going to go ahead and pop these into the oven for 25 to 30 minutes until those peppers are nice and cooked and my cheese is melted and a little bit crispy. I find the cheese on top is a good sell for kids. Anything with melted cheese on, they are typically okay with. And my kids have grown up eating stuff like this as well, so it's not quite as hard to get them to eat it as maybe other kids who aren't quite as used to eating peppers or vegetables or things like that. But I do find that if I'm putting cheese on top, it does help the transition when they are trying to eat things like this. And because this does have a bit of a Mexican flair to it, if you wanted to add some nachos on the side, that would be also a good addition. I typically always have a salad on the side, so that is helpful as well. But these were so super delicious. You could pretty much just pick them up by hand, and the peppers almost acted like a taco shell. Another thing that is coming in from the garden for me right now are these Canadian crookneck squash. So I decided to do a soup today. Soups are so nutritious, so full of fiber, and are also incredibly budget friendly. Almost every soup that you will ever make is pretty much a great budget friendly option because they are so filling, and then they are also just so nutritious. So a butternut squash soup is something I love to make in the fall, and it's been so chilly out that it feels definitely like soup season. I start off in my pot by taking a tablespoon of olive oil and 1 medium onion. I chop the onion up and get it into my pot, and I let that cook for a good 5 minutes before I take a small squash, chop it up, take the skin off, and toss that into my pot as well. I then add 3 cloves of garlic, although I believe I added a couple extra cloves there, so 5 cloves, let's call it, of garlic. And then I add a teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of salt, and I also add a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. I go ahead and add 6 cups of broth. If you're wanting to keep this a vegan meal, then you're going to add vegetarian broth. If not, you can add a broth of your choice. Now, I had beef broth as well as vegetarian broth, so that's what I added. I then add a cup of lentils, a half a cup of rice, and I let that simmer for 45 minutes, and it gives me this really hearty butternut squash stew, pretty much. It is so super delicious, and I think you would absolutely love to try it. My last recipe is one that is always fun for the kids, and that is chickpea fritters. I have a ton of chickpeas in my house and I like to use them up. So I'm going to go ahead and use 1 jar of my chickpeas. 1 jar is worth 2 cans of chickpeas pretty much. I'm going to go ahead and add about a teaspoon of salt as well as 3/4 cup of flour. And the flour is just going to help these bind together. Then I'm going to add a teaspoon of cumin, teaspoon of garlic powder, about a tablespoon of chopped parsley. If you're finding this a bit dry, you can add a tablespoon or 2 of water to it. But I'm just going to go ahead and take my potato masher and mash this until it is all combined. After that, I can form it into patties and get it into my oiled frying pan. These patties take about 5 to 7 minutes to cook per side, and they are such a delicious meal and super kid friendly. If you are looking for more budget dinner ideas or meal ideas, make sure you check out the playlist that I have linked at the end. It is so full of very budget friendly ideas to really help you save a lot of money in the kitchen. If you're looking for more budget content not found on this page, you can find me over on Patreon, where I have tutorials on more budget-friendly meals not shown here, as well as monthly or weekly posts and frugal lists of things that you should have in your house to help save you money. I will have that linked in the comments if you're interested in going and checking it out. If you're a chickpea fan like me, make sure you are making these fritters because they are just so incredibly delicious and incredibly budget friendly and definitely a kid win. Thank you all so much for being here with me today. I hope you're having a wonderful summer, and I will see you guys next time.